Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm Bobby Howard. With me, we've got Jamison Maxwell in for a little bit of a bonus mini episode. Look, we normally don't do game previews. We just kind of tack it on at the end of our recaps. But let's be honest, Jamison, this has been one of the weirder weeks with the Oklahoma Sooners, which is really saying something because we've experienced some weird OU weeks on this podcast. But we'll get into Michael Hawkins being named starting quarterback for this game, some changes with the offense, a couple other deals. But before we get started, I just got to ask you, because you did miss your Schooner Pod on Sunday. What are your thoughts? Just quick little thoughts on the Tennessee game last Saturday.
Sadness. That's really what it is. It's not anger. It's not, like, oh, we need to correct all it. It's all it is just sadness. I just feel empty. I don't know about y'all, but I just don't feel as excited for OU football. I understand new freshman quarterback, but it's just a kick to the absolute balls to know that all of the things you were worried about came into fruition on the biggest stage. And it's just such a shame. And I'll get out of it. I just need to watch some football on Saturday. Maybe it'll make me more sad, but I feel a little bit in the dumps about this team.
I think the first loss always kind of does that, but this one was worse just because of, I don't know, the magnitude of waiting for that SEC move and everything. And, I actually think I'm kind of on the other side in a weird way where, yeah, I am a little bummed out. I think the offense is in a bad place, but I think I have a tinge of optimism that there might be change in the way. And, I think that one thing I really appreciate is, Brent Venables talking, the way he's been talking specifically about the problems, being head on with it, not just throwing out the standard, oh, we're close, we'll figure it out, but, really getting into the meat of it and making changes, like having the bravery to put in Michael Hawkins in that second half. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's misled, maybe it's copium. It might be a little bit of both, but I feel like they're making changes that they need to make, at least on the offensive end.
Brent sounded frustrated in that press conference Tuesday, September 24th. Like, he sounded mad, and I'm sad over here. Brent sounded mad, and you can tell he was very frustrated with how the offense played and how the offense was called. And I hate to read too much into this, Bobby, but it makes me think, obviously, as a head coach, you have every right to be frustrated with this team. But, it's like, he's like, great things about the defense, great things about the defense. And he's like, oh, man, that safety play, that was a horrible call. That was a horrible call. Oh, Danny Stutzman, he's a great leader. Jackson Arnold will get out of this. It just seemed like a very, hot and cold, which this game was. But I still wish that there would have been a little bit more, getting behind the offense. I just didn't get that, nonverbal cues as much from Brent. I can tell he's really frustrated with how things are running, which he deserves to be.
Yeah, and I think some of it is just kind of straight shooting on it. The offense was bad. It was putrid. And I think there is a degree of frustration when your defense puts you in a position to win that football game, which I think they did. And the offense is so laughably bad that the game's out of reach. Because, Tennessee fans have been saying, rightfully, that Josh Heupel took the foot off the gas. Because he did. Because he knew that offense wasn't going to do anything.
And on the other side of that coin, Bobby, with him putting his foot on the gas, they turned the ball over twice in scoring position. So if they're going to put their foot on the gas, that's a risk that they're not willing to take. So it's not all oh, mercy call. It was more so there was also it was a two-sided coin on that thing where it's it's advantageous for them to be just run the ball, run the clock. But at the same time, as long as they just don't screw up, they'll be okay. But also, if they do too much, they might screw up again because our defense was just, other than a couple of big plays, was really, really just honing in on this team.
No, for sure. And I didn't say that to put the defense down. They were doing their job. It was more of an indictment on the offense because, like you said, the riskier thing is turn the ball over. OU probably had a better chance to score a touchdown with a pick six or a strip and score, by chewing the clock, giving it to reliable, running backs like Dylan Sampson and Bishop. Like, that was your path to victory. It was smart. It was absolutely the right move. But it was
we kind of contained Samson pretty well in that first half. Obviously they chipped away at us, and that's what a good running back does. But at the same time, like, I was really proud of us, and I want to know if I could dive into it. Like, what was the average field position start for Tennessee too? Like, they were getting dealt very, very good poker hands here. I'm not putting Tennessee down. Obviously, they have a great team. They have one of the better teams in college football right now. But at the same time, man, that defense kicked ass.
Oh yeah, no, OU's defense was remarkable. And if you think about Tennessee's scoring positions, like when they scored, it was usually because of bad field position. You think about the field goal at the end of the game, going for it on fourth down at the start for OU, obviously the turnovers, but and then really OU held Tennessee to two big plays.
Mm-hmm.
The long shot to Brew McCoy and the touchdown that was a blown coverage. And I think if you tell me that OU holds Tennessee to 25 and there are only two big plays that the offense makes, then yeah, I tell you OU wins that ball game. Like, and I think it was a great defensive performance, and that's what gives me the optimism. Just figure out the offense, and I think this can be a damn good football team, because I think Tennessee's a college football playoff lock. I think they're a national title contender. I think they're that good. So I don't know. I'm optimistic with the offense, and let's kind of get into that. So Michael Hawkins Jr.
What about this Auburn matchup makes you optimistic about this team? I want to hear this, Bobby, because I'll play both sides on this.
Yeah. So primarily, I think the defense or Auburn's offense equally as bad. Peyton Thorne and I'm blanking on Hank Brown, both awful. I think that what OU obviously has a quarterback issue. Auburn has a quarterback issue. I do not know who they go to. I think maybe Auburn's Locked On podcast mentioned that they should put one of their wide receivers at quarterback. I could be wrong on that. I swear I saw that clip somewhere.
That's just down bad fans, Bobby.
They're down bad. They're down bad, man. And I think, to me, that's a position that the defense can take advantage of. Offensively, yeah, we don't know what we'll see out of Michael Hawkins, but I like the confidence more than I like Jackson Arnold's. I like his ability to escape bad positions. His timing is there. I like that they're peeling back the RPO more. I don't know. I think they'll be better set up for success at Jordan-Hare than they were last week at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. Why did I say the full name? Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know, but I get it. I get why you can have more optimism for this offense moving forward. And I don't know if my optimism argument here, Bobby, is more so just bashing the offense even further, but here it is. Michael Hawkins may not even be a better quarterback than Jackson Arnold, but for what this offense and the tools that we have right now to surround Arnold and Hawkins will have a better chance to succeed in this offense, because his dynamic running, getting out of the pocket, the soonest thing he gets pressure in the pocket, that dude's running. Like, watch Jaden Daniels right now, the way he's playing in the NFL. It's similar to the way that he's playing like that. Like, he's running, he's just going to put his foot down and try to go make a play. And that's electric. Is that going to be a good thing moving forward whenever they can scout it? I'm scared a lot of teams are going to abuse that. But right now versus Auburn in a really poor offensive line, that's probably the only thing we can do. Because if we have Jackson Arnold or Hawkins sit in the pocket and none of our wide receivers can get open worth a lick after a couple of seconds, except for Deion Burks, who could be hurt, and who knows what his injury status is leading into this game. We need a guy to go out there and make plays and not just sit in the pocket and just, oh, wait, that guy's not open. Oh, bad decision, interception, turnover, Jackson Arnold.
Right. And it reminded me of, like, not directly, but the Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler thing. Obviously, Williams is a way better prospect than Hawkins, but when you saw Lincoln Riley attempt to do the flip side at that Baylor game where he put Radler in the game to try to come back against Baylor, it was clear it wasn't going to work because Radler couldn't move, with his legs.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't scramble. He couldn't make stuff out of nothing. And I feel like in a similar way, like you kind of have to have a guy when it's hitting the fan, you're not having a good O-line performance, that you have to have a scrambler. You have to have a magician. And Hawkins feels like that guy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to at least give more respect to outside running to this football team's offense, because all these defenses can do right now. Just watch Tennessee's defensive tape. I just was watching from the stands. Watch the safeties. Just watch them. Don't even watch the ball. Just watch the safeties. Look how much disrespect they give this team. They know that they're not worried about a deep ball because A, it's probably not going to get there with the accuracy from the quarterback, and B, they're not going to have enough time to get open. So they're just playing up in the box. They're stacking, and you're probably not going to run it outside either because you haven't been doing that the whole season. So we're just going to just wait for things in the middle of the field and just continue over and over, just blah. And that's what we did over and over and over.
The lack of the outside run was baffling because it kind of worked at the start of the game.
Yeah, you had the great Javonte Barnes run. I was like, oh, hello.
And then we never saw it again.
Yeah, and so a running quarterback should be able to stretch the defense a little bit, keep them a little bit more spread out, and you would hope that the respect that Hawkins deserves to get from his second half performance versus Tennessee is going to make Auburn's defense be like, okay, I still don't believe in him quite yet in this offense to get deep, but at least I'm not going to just absolutely squeeze in and pinch my defense every single. They're not going to pinch the defensive line every single time, pinch the linebackers. They're at least going to have people spread out a little bit to where Hawkins could show some respect on the defensive line to where maybe, just maybe, our running backs could get a little bit of room to make plays.
For sure. And I think you got to hope that Seth Luttrell learns from his mistakes and doesn't continue to just jam inside zone right at the strength of, I don't know nearly enough about Auburn as I should, but I imagine they have a solid D line.
They do.
Because it's the SEC. And let's just hope they don't continue to just jam in the middle where it's going to fail over and over and over and over again. Because that won't work. That's not going to work.
Yeah. And so last week, Auburn played Taylon Green, who's a mobile quarterback. He's a playmaker. I would not say he's too similar to Mike Hawkins because Mike Hawkins is a much more avid runner than Taylon Green, but both mobile quarterbacks are the same. And I don't think Taylon Green played that good of a game. And Jaquindon Jackson, their star running back, only averaged 3.4 yards per carry. So if you're going to lean on this run game, it's going to be a tough game for us too. So it's not like, oh, thank God we moved away from the best defensive line in the country in Tennessee. Things should get better as we go against lesser opponents. Still, Auburn's got a good defensive line, stopping defense that makes you think, are we going to have more problems in this game? And I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's going to be 3 and outs, and because we get into 3rd and 11, 3rd and long, and we don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, and I mean that was one of the biggest problems last time out is
all 3rd and longs. It was miserable. It was the first down play calling was pitiful, Bobby.
Yeah, because first down, you would either take a 2-yard loss or, drop back and get, hammered 5 or 6 yards behind and you'd be screwed. There'd be no way to come back from that. And that has to change. I think play calling absolutely has to be a big part of this as well. And that is something that Brent Venables has kind of alluded to, is that the RPO might be pretty kaput. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you have a true freshman quarterback who hasn't ran it as much, right? And it's the RPO failed with Jackson Arnold because it's all about deciding to make. We talked about this. It's you got to be a good decision maker, A, and then B, you have to have at least some kind of run threat. If the offensive line is not providing a threat to the run game, the RPO is going to be even harder to make a decision to begin with. So Jackson Arnold, whenever he was going out there and they're like, oh, just make a quick decision. This dude's looking at the run versus the pass, and he's like, I don't like either of these. So yeah, he's going to look bad. He's like, oh God, what do I do? None of these look good. I'm supposed to pick one. And this is a guy who already had yips ever since Sooner fans talked about it all offseason since Arizona. And they talked about it all offseason whenever they hear practice reports. Oh, Jackson Arnold, does he really have it? This offense isn't showing out. Look at these interceptions. I'm worried. Players hear this. And whenever you have an offense primarily based on making snap decisions and a guy who has already shown through his small sample size thus far that he can't make good decisions, it is not a good offense for Jackson Arnold. Set him up for failure, and it's a shame that he was put in this offense and really kind of spoiled him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think he got a ton of help in that sense. And at the same time, I think he made a lot of unforced errors. I think that interception into triple coverage
is brutal. That was
arguably one of the worst interceptions I've seen an OU quarterback make. Like, that was awful.
That was so stupid. He just
especially when you have Brooks up the
double
middle
coverage over and over and over and just throw it into a freaking freshman. Like, what are you doing, brother? Like, I really think I want to not dog on Jackson Arnold too much because he played really, really bad. But, like we were singing his praises in the Tulane podcast, Bobby. We were saying this is one of the few bright spots of this offense. Like, he fought for it. And other than that interception, that was a pick six. Like, he looked pretty damn good. And how much of that pick six was his fault? Maybe 40%, but still it wasn't like a pitiful interception, right? Mm-hmm. This guy still has some things. I'm sad to say that how bad his supporting cast is, it's just ruined him. It's just absolutely ruined him, and I'm just scared it's beyond repair.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that as well. He's got to dig deep and figure it out. That bring in some sports, sports psychologists or something. There are ways to dig your way out of this. I don't think it's the end of Jackson Arnold by any means. Hell, it might not even be the end of Jackson Arnold at OU. There's a lot that can happen.
Put down, Bobby. What do you think? Does he play another down for OU football?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes this season.
Okay. I think he burns his red shirt because that's a huge decision moving forward because, he did not get his red shirt last season. He's played 4 games thus far. I guarantee you there's a lot of tampering right now. Guaranteed teams saying like, why would you want to stay at Oklahoma? You were the best quarterback in high school. And now all you're doing is playing against absolute poverty offensive line and you're playing with poverty wide receivers. Don't go out there and spoil your stock even more. Hold out, and then we'll give you a payday this offseason. You can come be the quarterback that you thought you were 2 years ago.
Jeff Lebby sending the "you up" text over there.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if Jeff Lebby would be a good thing. Like, I thought that at first because that's a good relationship, but Mississippi State isn't showing like they have anything that could be enticing for him. Like, they have like one, what is it? Jordan Mosley, his name. Yeah, like he's like a good wide receiver is there. But I mean, like other than that, that's about it. I don't even know.
You got to surround him with some weapons. You got to surround him with weapons and a good O-line, which I don't know if you can do right away.
So like an SMU, or something like that. Like someone who has like an absolute piss poor quarterback. I mean, they're also playing bad. But I mean, like you got to start thinking about it. If I'm Jackson Arnold and I'm taking off my crimson tinted glasses right now, and I'm being a realistic Sooner fan. And if y'all think I'm being too pessimistic this pod, too freaking bad. If I'm Jackson Arnold, I think the business decision is to say, hey, guys, I'm going to take my red shirt. I'm just going to call it this season. I'll evaluate if I want to be a Sooner next season or if I want to leave. That's seriously what I'd do because I wouldn't, if I'm Jackson Arnold, I don't want to play with this iteration of a Oklahoma Sooners football team. I maybe he wants to be an Oklahoma Sooner for life, but I do not want to be playing with this iteration of a football, this team, because it's going to completely tarnish him even further than he already has done so far.
I don't think that's I think that makes a lot of sense. And if you also, by the way, you got to be just like so thankful you have Casey Thompson in that room.
Yeah.
Just as an insurance, policy there, having a third guy in case Arnold, like Hawkins, knock on wood, if Hawkins goes down and Arnold's like, I ain't going out there. You're not
get in Brendan Zerbug.
You're not throwing in Zerbug. So, okay. Quick little note before we move on, or before we wrap this little mini pod up. A couple other notes. Jacoby Johnson getting reps at wide receiver. Are you buying that as an impact, or are you just waving it off as just kind of a insurance policy thing.
Am I bad to be continuously negative this podcast, Bobby?
No, it's tough times, man. I get it.
I'm really pissed off about moving Jacoby Johnson. I really am. I am. This dude looks so good at corner. He's done so much. Like, this guy we brought in as an athlete who can be like a top notch. Like, if he continues the trajectory that he's been developing as a defender and as a cornerback, he could legitimately be a top, day 1, day 2 kind of cornerback. He's not there yet. But the athlete that he is, the length that he has, his body type, and the trajectory he continues to go up as a defender, he can be that kind of guy. So we're going to turn him to a wide receiver into an offense that I really don't think that, adding him is going to move the dial too much. I think that if I am him, unless he's been a guy always like, I always wish I was a wide receiver. And, like maybe like the DJ, oh my God.
DJ Graham.
DJ Graham. I almost said DJ Moore. DJ Graham situation where he was like, he always wanted to be a wide receiver, but he was put at DB. If that's that situation, I'm happy for the coaching staff to be like, you know what, we have a need and we can, give this to you, even though we thought that your ceiling would be higher as a DB. But if it's like, I don't really care, I'll be a team player and go anywhere. I don't really like how it's stunting his growth as a player, because who knows, he could go out and be stellar at both positions, but he's been practicing as a DB for the past year and a half. And I'm just kind of disappointed that we would stop that in how great it was going.
I think that's very fair. I also think the wide receiver room is in complete dire straits, and you do what you have to do, but and it sucks, and you just really hope it doesn't stunt his growth too much. But we'll see. Well, that's all we
don't have another option at the wide receiver position. They're desperate. The coaching staff is desperate, and I really hope this isn't a selfish move from the coaching staff where they're pushing a kid into a decision he doesn't want to make. I can't say that for sure. It seems like Jacoby said all the right things, and you've heard he's ready to tackle on this challenge. But Bobby, I'm sorry. I was very pessimistic for these past 22 minutes in this mini pod, but y'all didn't get me on last on our pod on Sunday. So I just had to let it out.
you had a lot of, I get it. You had a lot of stress. You had to get it on out. But anyways, we'll make our picks for OU Auburn on the weekend spread. Actually, if you're watching this now, we already have made our picks on the weekend spread. So make sure to go check that one out. But until then, we'll see you on Sunday when we recap this ball game. Until then, Boomer Sooner, everybody.